the only other distinguishing factor between these two tattooed Mohawks. Big right hand, Towler takes him down. Byrne trying to fight his way out of it. Towler very quick to stay away from the jiu-jitsu though, Jeremy, as he looked to drop in.
Well, Phil Towler, again, has tough jiu-jitsu, and you can see him trying for a heel hook there. But, again, Phil Towler has great striking, too. So you can see that he's trying to use that striking to his advantage. Why go where your opponent is good when you are outstriking him?
Yeah, you might think that Towler would back off and let his man up. But at this point, content to hold his opponent down. Now reaching in. Both guys kind of looking at this as an opportunity. Jeremy Fowler looking to time that big punch and drop it in. On the other side, Byrne maybe looking to catch the arm and turn it into a submission.
Well, it's a chess match, and there you, just like you mentioned, Ryan, he went to go catch the arm. And look at the pressure now being put forward by Phil Towler. And if he can keep his feet, this is a very dangerous striking position. But he leaves himself open to a sweep. But look at the power by Phil Towler. Now a nice double leg against the cage. Both these guys are very strong, Ryan.
Just picked him right up off the ground, put him on his feet, and took him right back down. Did Phil Towler. What a move there, showing supreme power here in this division.
And again, the good pressure being put down by Phil Towler right in his corner, which is where fighters want to be. Look at the dangerous submission attempts, though, by Chris Lee Byrne. And again, all he has to do is catch one of these. He is a purple belt, trying to get his brown belt and going in for that heel hook. So again, very dangerous Chris Lee Byrne. So Phil Towler being very cautious.
Byrne talking to the referee a moment ago. Towler now in, back on top, postured up, looking to find an opening here in the defenses of Chris Lee Byrne. Byrne, though, doing a good job of spinning away, limiting the damage, although there gets a right hand through.
Now, if I'm in a jiu-jitsu situation, I don't think I want anybody else but Anderson Goncalves, who is one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the world. And if he's the one who's telling you what to do in that position, you're in pretty good shape.
Towler continuing to land right hands from the top. Nothing with too much damage. Some elbows to the legs. Again, just creating damage, staying busy. That elbow got through. Some blood now on the nose of Chris Byrne.
When you can see the sides of the shoulders of Phil Towler, so you can imagine those elbows come down with a lot of force.
Spinning his opponent, his head against the cage. Towler just grinding it out here in the first couple minutes. Been on top in this position now, Jeremy, for about 90 seconds, and has done a good job of staying busy, continuing to land shots.
Well, staying busy but being cautious with his striking, not overreaching, not giving his opponent an opportunity to get a submission. Again, we know the dangerous submissions that CLB has.
Continuing to work here. Again, good defense from Byrne. He hasn't taken too many big shots. Now looking for a submission here.
He had that triangle attempt in, but good work with the cage. Turning his opponent into the cage was Phil Towler.
Again, when you get to a brown belt stage, you've been tapped so many times in so many different ways that you start to see them coming a little bit. You can get away from it and prevent yourself from getting caught. Again, continuing to work. Byrne now trying a sweep, but Towler scrambling back.
The crowd, you hear a couple people in the crowd saying, hey, we want to see them standing, because when it was standing, it was quite dynamic. But this is a chess match down here, and good jiu-jitsu being shown by both of these guys. There's some strikes being thrown in, but the defense here and the attempts continually being thrown by Chris Lee Byrne.
Well, and patience on the part of Towler too, Jeremy, because you don't want to be out there throwing those big shots, opening yourself up to armbar attempts or triangles.
Well, easy enough to say that you want this standing, but again, there's a lot of muscles on Phil Towler which take a lot of oxygen, a lot of blood to power. So if you can slow the pace down and still win the fight and be dynamic once it is on the feet, that's going to be a recipe for success. If you try and burn it all out in the first 5 minutes, you lose 2 rounds, you lose the fight.
Towler continuing to work from up top. Just short time left now in round number 1, under 10 seconds to go. And Byrne tries to sweep away. Towler says he'll have none of that. A couple elbows up against the cage to put an exclamation point on the first round for Phil Towler. Spent the bulk of the round on top of Chris Byrne and did a very good job of that. So a little bit of cage maintenance before they get round 2 underway. Some ice landing in the corner of Chris Byrne. They touch gloves again. As you mentioned, Jeremy, some big breaths coming from Phil Towler. We'll see how that affects him here in round number 2. Trying to land that big right hand. Byrne, though, getting the better of the striking here in round 2 in the early going.
Yeah, the more clinical striking. Phil Towler throwing a little bit more wild, but the clinical straight striking is by Chris Byrne. So it'll be interesting to see if Chris Byrne recognizes that the punches are looping in and maybe tries to keep this one on the feet.
Both guys throwing knees up against the cage, neither one of them really landing for much damage. Towler going for the big overhand right now. He pulls the guard. He's got the guillotine in. It may just be a matter of time. Chris Byrne attacking the hands.
Chris Byrne looks pretty calm in there.
He didn't at the beginning, but it seemed like he calmed down once he got in. And thumbs up for the referee.
And it's important to communicate with the referee. The referee's job is to keep the fighter safe. But if you give the thumbs up, you know you're okay if you're talking. And again, this is a situation where Phil Towler has thrown a lot of big punches. He is showing signs of slowing down. So perhaps this effort that he's putting in on this guillotine that isn't very tight, he perhaps should give it up and try and get into a better position than having Chris Lee Byrne in your guard.
Yeah, you can see the big, deep breaths from Phil Towler as he now gives up the guillotine choke. And we see that a lot here in the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship. Guys dropping back and pulling guard for the guillotine. Hasn't been that successful in Hard Knocks history as a submission attempt, and more often than not, like now, you end up with yourself in a bad position.
When most guys are transitioning to when they guillotine to stay standing, and it allows them to put that pressure, get them up against the cage, and control that position. But right now, we have the exact same problem here for Phil Towler as we did for Chris Lee Byrne. Is Chris Lee Byrne has to be aware that Phil Towler has dangerous jiu-jitsu from the bottom.
Towler trying to push his way out. Byrne holding him down. Continuing to lay his weight on Phil Towler, trying to make those breaths a little deeper. Nice left hand sneaks through.
And he does have the mount position, so this is a good position for Chris Lee Byrne to work in. It's also not many submissions from the mount that Phil Towler can attempt, so this is a very safe position for Chris Lee Byrne to get to work in.
Towler just defending at this point, keeping his arms wide. Although now Byrne, a big elbow there. That one's raising a mouse immediately on the forehead of Phil Towler. And now Towler tries to roll through. Byrne holds on though, and he's got Towler's back.
And Towler reaching to his eye, testing to see if it's bleeding, but it is swelling. And now, again, the chess match continues. Jiu-jitsu is very much a strategy, a move, counter move, move, counter move. And right now, Chris Lee Byrne is just being patient, hoping that Phil Towler will give him an opening that he can take advantage of.
See Byrne trying to work to a better position. Towler, again, very comfortable in this position, very confident in his ground game, as the purple belt has the back of the brown belt here in what has been primarily a ground battle. Both fighters taking their turns in each round to get it done. And there is some blood on the face of Phil Towler.
So it looks like that the swelling that was happening eventually found a hole and is starting to leak out of the eye of Phil Towler. Chris Lee Byrne, again, looks very calm here. Looks very much as though he's not tired and can lay these shots and look like he's continuing to be busy, continuing to damage that target he's now created on the face of Phil Towler.
Well, and as you mentioned earlier, Jeremy, 9 fights between amateur and pro for Chris Byrne, just 3 fights for Phil Towler. And Towler now a nice reversal, turns into Chris Byrne and is on top.
Chris Byrne has the attempt at the Kimura though, so you have to be careful. Phil Towler immediately recognizes that his arm is in danger, tucks it in behind his leg, and you can see it in between the legs right there to protect it from that Kimura. So good presence of mind by Phil Towler to know that he got the sweep, but the danger was still there.
So Towler now on top. We'll see if he can do some damage and maybe reverse the judges' minds on round number 2, because it was Chris Byrne with the better of the positioning and probably the striking at the beginning of the round, Jeremy. So some damage going to have to be done here from Towler late.
When if Phil Towler, I don't know if he can do enough to be able to erase the damage in the round and win the round, but what he can do is make a statement to Chris Byrne that says, hey, look, I'm in this fight. You might have had a good advantage for a while, but I'm still in this fight.
Towler, big hammer fist there. Just short time left in round number 2. Another punch there lands right before the bell. Towler ends the round on top. We'll see how the judges score that one. So they touch gloves for the third and final time. And again, the striking opening up by Chris Byrne. A nice right hand gets in from Towler, but some combinations landing the other side. A bull rush charge from Towler and a nice takedown. Didn't get exactly the double leg he was looking for, but the end result may still be the same.
And for Phil Towler to really make a statement here, he has to advance out of the guard of Chris Lee Byrne. Chris Lee Byrne's guard is very effective. He likes going up high, attacking the triangles, attacking the arms in for arm bars. So Phil Towler has to get out of this guard, and every time it opens, there's an opportunity. But so far, Phil Towler hasn't been able to see it, happy and content to strike from the guard.
Yeah, again, at some points, too, you almost fight for points, Jeremy, and this is certainly a point-scoring opportunity for Phil Towler as he sits in the guard but landing punches from the top in the dominant position, and typically that's enough to sway the judges your way. Now there's 4 minutes left in this fight, but Phil Towler certainly on his way in round number 3 after a likely round 1 victory to continue doing what he's doing here. He could be victorious.
When he has to stay busy, Adam Cheadle right on top of the action, and if he deems it not enough action, he's going to call it standing because he knows, and again, no referee wants to be involved in a fight where they have to get involved unless they're stopping the fight, but sometimes it does happen. That's why Phil Towler has to avoid that, must keep busy, must keep landing strikes, must keep trying to advance.
Well, and it's no surprise, really. We've seen Adam Cheadle stand fighters up quite a bit here in the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship. If you're not working, Adam Cheadle's going to put you back on your feet, and that's something certainly Phil Towler from this position doesn't want to see happen. But you can see Chris Byrne now trapping both hands of Towler, and now Towler having to posture up to get one hand loose.
Good work by Phil, remaining on that inside control. That's where he's going to be able to strike from. If he's striking from the outside, he's not going to be able to land with any sort of power. And pushing his opponent up against the fence limits the opportunities for sweeping. So good, smart jiu-jitsu here. Even though it is striking that Phil Towler is using, it's the jiu-jitsu that is making it so that he can continue that striking attack.
Again, continuing to try and find an opening from the top. Phil Towler, effectively holding his opponent down, imposing his will here, but not able to get much in the way of damage so far on Chris Byrne, who's done a good job up against the cage defending, and he hasn't really attacked any submission attempts from the top here. Another couple punches getting through from Towler. But at this point hasn't done himself any favors by being on the bottom now for a full 2 minutes.
Well, and Phil continues to work and continues to satisfy Adam Cheadle by keeping them down on the ground. Is he doing a ton of damage to Chris Byrne? No, but he is dominating the fight using the cage control. So if Phil Towler can continue to do this, again, we're not judges and you never want to leave it in the judges' scorecards, but it looks like 1 round for Phil Towler right now, 1 round for Chris Lee Byrne.
Yeah, round 1 and 2 split between the two fighters on my scorecard as well. But with 1:40 to go here, Chris Byrne's going to have to do something spectacular to erase the last 3.5 minutes where he spent them on his back with Phil Towler landing shots from the top.
Some good body shots too from Phil Towler.
Okay, and as we mentioned, no surprise, referee standing them up and wanting to see the rest of the round. Wasting no time coming in. Phil Towler, another double and another slam to the ground. This time doesn't follow it through and lost a leg momentarily, pulls it out. But again, nice work here from Phil Towler and some nice up kicks from Chris Byrne.
That's an impressive double leg from Phil Towler, and now he's in side control. This is the position he's been wanting to be in the entire fight, and this is where a guy like Phil Towler, who's very top heavy, has a big upper body, so he can lean a lot of weight on, and when those elbows land, they're coming down with the force of all of that big upper body that Phil Towler has.
Towler continuing to pressure from up top, has been dominant in this position throughout the fight. Byrne hasn't really been able to reverse him at any point, both times just sneaking out the back, but Phil Towler has been on top now for the better part of the third round, and will likely, if he survives the next 22 seconds, be declared the victor of this one via decision. But again, Chris Byrne, a tough guy, and has done good in this fight, has done well, Jeremy, defending, but not enough to get away from Phil Towler.
Lots of pressure here, down in the last couple seconds. It's on a triangle attempt, but it might be a little too late for Chris Byrne.